Hello gamers, this is Sai and welcome back to Which Way Games. It's time to step back into the arena for what is the ultimate intro song.
Test your mind. Mortal Kombat! Mortal Kombat!
Love that. And with that being said, let's get on with the video. When it comes to fighting games, gamers will more than likely have their own personal favourites. Some will like Soul Calibur, some will like Tekken, while others will absolutely love the iconic fighting series known as Street Fighter 2. Each of these have their own fighting styles, backstories, as well as loyal fan bases, but one thing that's missing from all these fighting games is blood. But one fighting series that goes hand in hand with blood and gore is Mortal Kombat. Now back in the 90s, some games did have blood, but nowhere near the levels of Mortal Kombat and the many sequels that would follow. In fact, with each new instalment, the gore factor went up and was pushing the boundaries of what could be in a game and led to the creation of the ESRB, which I'll come back to. Arcade gaming was hugely popular in the 80s and 90s, and it still is to this day, with some great games to play from all the different genres of video gaming. But back then, one genre that seemed to be catching the attention of gamers was a fighting style of gaming. And with the introduction of Street Fighter 2, which as I said some class as the king of fighting games being released in the arcades, this popularity grew and grew. Then out of nowhere a rival fighting game appeared that started to take the world by storm and was aiming to take the crown away from Street Fighter 2. This arcade cabinet with a Black Dragon logo all over it was Mortal Kombat. But let's go back to where it started. Now Mortal Kombat was created by Ed Boon and John Tobias, who were tasked by publisher Midway to create and design a fighting game within a year. Believed they were going head to head with Capcom's Street Fighter 2, the pair got to work alongside a small group of programmers and artists. Envisioning a fighting game similar to Karate Champ, the team wanted their game to stand out from all the would-be contenders to the crown. And the only way to achieve this was to try something new that hadn't really been done before. This would be using real-life actors, obviously stepping away from the cartoon look of other fighting games. The actors would be filmed by the development team, who then went on to digitise them into the game so they would become playable characters for Mortal Kombat. Midway management were obviously pleased with this and encouraged the team to try even more out their ideas. Initially, Mortal Kombat would have only had 6 characters, all being male. But with the popularity within Midway offices and to add a variety to the roster, Sonya Blade was added as the 7th playable character. Speaking of female characters, I may do a top 10 next year of the best female characters in gaming. Now the ultra-violent content that Mortal Kombat is widely known for was never intended to be in the final version of the game, but came to life through months of development and experimentation. But what were the fatalities that has become a staple of the series? Well, this came about thanks to the idea of getting a free hit, such as Street Fighter 2's dizziness animation. With a character stunned, the opposing character can get an extra hit in. But Boom wanted to take this concept even further and decided the best way to add insult to injury was by performing a death move that would shock as well as entertain. The team had all they needed, but one thing that was missing was a name. And after many brainstorming sessions, several names were thrown into the ring. Some names such as Kumite, Dragon Attack, Death Blow, as well as Fatality. Obviously most of these were hated by the development team until one day someone had written the word combat on the board, but had replaced the C with a K. Pinball designer Steve Ritchie just happened to be in Boon's office and suggested, why don't they call the game Mortal Kombat? The name just stuck and the rest is history. But how true is this, and who was this mysterious stranger who wrote combat on the board? It wasn't me, or was it? Being released in the arcades in 1992, Mortal Kombat was an instant hit with gamers, and even Capcom showed an interest in its new fighting series that was there to rival the almighty Street Fighter 2. With this success, Mortal Kombat followed Street Fighter 2 into the realms of home console gaming, and eventually ports were made for the Super Nintendo, the Sega Mega Drive, as well as handheld ports for the Game Boy and the Game Gear. Obviously, these ports couldn't truly capture the vision of the arcade, but they were pretty faithful. While the Super Nintendo was spot on for the visuals, as well as some of the audio, it did feature some changes in gameplay. Due to Nintendo's family-friendly policy at the time, the blood had been removed and replaced with sweat, plus the fatalities had been toned down to appear less violent. Now, Sega Mega Drive gamers did have a port that was not on par with the Super Nintendo version, but one thing they did have was blood, but only through the input of a cheat. Check out my top 10 cheats in gaming video for that cheat and all the gory fun that comes with it. Obviously, these home versions were such a big deal at the time that on September 13th, 1993, Mortal Kombat was released on a day dubbed Mortal Monday. And like always, let's go back to the past to see how Mortal Kombat was advertised.
Mortal Kombat!
The story of Mortal Kombat takes place in Earthrealm, one of the many different realms that exist throughout the universe. And in Earthrealm, 7 martial artists from all over the world are invited to participate in the Mortal Kombat tournament. The 7 different warriors of Earthrealm all have their own reasons to participate, but one warrior in particular is competing to save Earthrealm from the invasion of Outworld. This would be Liu Kang, and he is guided by the thunder god known as Raiden. This tournament is being held on an island owned by an evil sorcerer known as Shang Tsung. Originally being banished from Outworld 500 years ago, Shang Tsung was able to take control of the Mortal Kombat tournament thanks to the help of the monstrous Goro. Goro is a member of the 4-armed, half-human, half-dragon race known as the Shao Kahn, and over the last 500 years has been the champion of the Mortal Kombat tournament since Shang Tsung took over. The Mortal Kombat tournament was originally created by the Elder Gods, who decreed that one realm could conquer another realm by defeating the defending realm's greatest warriors in 10 consecutive Mortal Kombat tournaments. Looking for a way back to Outworld and to impress the Emperor Shao Kahn, Shang Tsung has had Goro win 9 Mortal Kombat tournaments in a row. Gameplay for Mortal Kombat follows the familiar style of fighting games that gamers have become accustomed to, and gamers would battle against each other in one-on-one matches, usually with 2 rounds before progressing further. All the playable characters share a set move of attacks such as punch and kicks, each with a variant of high and low, such as a leg sweep, a roundhouse kick, and the infamous uppercut that would launch an opponent into the air. Now this is where there is more to Mortal Kombat than meets the eye. Maybe next year. With the uppercut I just mentioned, this is where the term of juggling was introduced. Gamers could knock the opponent into the air and follow up with a combination of attacks, taking advantage of this vulnerability. In fact, this idea became so popular that eventually it spread to other fighting games, and has now become part of the fighting culture in video games. As with the normal moves available to gamers, there's also the special moves that can be done by an input of codes on the controller, allowing gamers to perform such supernatural feats such as Liu Kang's bicycle kick and my personal favourite move that Scorpion is known for.
Get over here!
And let's not forget the all-important innovation that made Mortal Kombat truly stand out from other fighting games. I'm talking about the fatalities that could be performed against a defeated opponent, usually with gruesome consequences. Coming back to the story, Liu Kang defeats Goro and then eventually fights Shang Tsung. After defeating the evil sorcerer, Liu Kang wins the Mortal Kombat tournament and successfully saves Earthrealm from the invasion. However, with Shang Tsung now back in Outworld, the evil Emperor Shao Kahn is not too happy about losing. Fearing for his life, Shang Tsung bargains with Shao Kahn and manages to convince him to lure the Earthrealm warriors to Outworld and challenge them to Mortal Kombat. Being advised by one of his shadow priests, Shao Kahn agrees. But that's for another time. Mortal Kombat was such a success when released, it even had a lot of controversy due to the content of extreme violence and gore, but this only served to boost its popularity. But its success didn't stop there. Mortal Kombat even had a run of comics that would explain more about the lore of Mortal Kombat and backstories for its warriors. It even had live action movies made, which surprisingly the first one is still enjoyable to watch. Coming back to the controversy I mentioned earlier, this helped form the ESRB, which rates games depending on their content and still does to this day. Now, Mortal Kombat went on to spawn many sequels and sub-series throughout the gaming world, and with each instalment becoming more and more violent and more shocking each time, it's easy to see why this series is still around. In fact, the latest instalments really do show gamers the amount of damage that is dealt out, and with Mortal Kombat having a reboot of sorts, it's nice to see how far the series has come and what may lay in its future. Now, Mortal Kombat is one of those games that any gamer can enjoy, and with enough practice, gamers can rise up to be the best. But my question is, which character is your favourite? Anyway, come back next time while our favourite Italian plumber competes in a racing circuit against some of his friends and enemies, but who will be classed the best driver in the whole of the Mushroom Kingdom. Thank you so much for watching, and see you next game.